The school of hard knocks, of trial and error, falling down, learning, picking up from others, just osmosis of always having your ears and your eyes open and being curious to what works for people and what doesn't work.
Hi, podcast listeners. Welcome to Mind Your Own Business. I hope you enjoy the honest business advice and personal stories of mistakes and magic. I'm Sue Stiles, your host and business expert, and I am here to share hope and practical and proven tactics to build your business. Hey, all the steps to success and twice the grit. Visit me for business resources, advice, and offers at SueStiles.com. And now back to the show. Hello, it's another episode of Mind Your Own Business. Literally, mind your own business with Sue Stiles. I'm your host. And today, I'm so pleased to have Megan Golightly join us. She's a professional home organizer, office organizer with Simplified. And Megan, I love what I read about you, that a quote that you said, clutter around your home is just unmade decisions. It just
True.
seems so sensible. I know you have a real strong interest in neuroscience, and combined with your psychology degree, you just seem to bundle them up together and become a professional organizer to help other people in something that you just love. And your popularity has exploded. People are learning about you, hiring you. I know you're super busy, so I appreciate your time with me. And for the listeners out there, yes, we might talk a little bit about organizing and some tricks and tips, but mostly I really wanted to dive in to behind the scenes of your business and the marketing that has gone into, whatever you've done to get you where you are. So welcome, Megan.
Thanks for having me. This is exciting. It's not my regular organizing talk, but you have to organize the marketing as well. So life is organizing, really.
It's so true. And I've listened to a number of your podcasts. If you haven't heard Megan, go find some podcasts for Megan Golightly. I've listened to a number of them, and it's always interesting about organizing your home and tips and tricks. But you started somewhere and you're at a great level right now. So maybe I'll just start by asking, when you started this business, did you even know anything about marketing, or what did you know about marketing?
Well, I have had quite a few different careers, so I'd never really had any formal training on marketing. I took a course once, Art of Negotiating, and I found that very interesting. But I seem to learn through the school of hard knocks, really, if there's going to be any type of formal training. But I did work for Johnson & Johnson for 10 years. They have an amazing marketing and sales program. I worked in sales, but the marketing strategies and materials they had were outstanding. So through osmosis, I picked up a bit there. I started a business with a friend a while ago, probably 20 years ago, but learned a lot about marketing and sales there. Really just, as I said, the school of hard knocks, of trial and error, falling down, learning, picking up from others, just osmosis of always having your ears and your eyes open and being curious to what works for people and what doesn't work.
It's so key, especially for the solo entrepreneur. I mean, this is how most people start a business. They're passionate about something, and then they realize, oh, I need to do all this other business stuff behind the scenes so that I can do my passion. Where did your passion come from to not only, I guess, organize yourself, but then create this business to help others get organized? Because there must be, I assume, lots of organizers out there. What makes you different, or what's your special sauce when it comes to creating that as a business?
Well, I had organized in people's homes and still do. I have been doing it for about 14 years. I have a team that's amazing that we work together, and these women are very, very passionate as well. So I think there are things that you are maybe born with that make you more prone to being an organized person. But I strongly, strongly believe that a lot of that is learned and taught and trained, and training your brain, forging out new neural pathways so that you know how to do things. Then it becomes routine, like any skill. And then you have to practice it like any athlete or anybody else who's in any type of business. I wanted to bring to everyone through a platform, which is Instagram now, but we're doing YouTube soon and rolling out some how-to videos so that people can do it at home, because there's only so many of us. And I don't like that we're booked up. It's great, but I want to help more people. But I would say that behind the scenes, 80% of my time is spent as an entrepreneur with the business, and 20% is spent with clients. So when you look at that, I'm working 4 or 5 days a week from 8 a.m. until 5 or 6, 7 p.m. sometimes. If that's my 20%, that 80% has to come somewhere else. And that's in the evenings, getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning, working every single weekend. It's a lot of work. But that part of it is huge, because you just can't, as they said in Johnson & Johnson, you can't show up and throw up. There needs to be some strategy and some skill and some planning. And I think that's the marketing piece that comes in place. But to answer your question, you can Google how to organize your closet. Whether you're going to be successful or not, I would venture 9 times out of 10, you may not be. If it were that easy, you would have done it, and there wouldn't be a need for us. So I really feel that the bulk of what the girls on the team do and what I do, and certainly on Instagram, is the teaching, the inspiring, the showing, the learning, the training, and the psychology behind it. So I find that to be almost more important than the sort of sexy, here's the clear container and here's how to do it. There's a lot that has to be done before that.
Yeah, I love how you speak around the psychology of being organized. I think it's really interesting. And I just read a quote the other day that I think fits in here. Ozan Varol, in his book, Think Like a Rocket Scientist.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he said it, but we don't always rise to the level of our intentions or our expectations. We fall to the level of our training.
Yes.
So
yeah,
what you just said there is you're teaching people how to do this for themselves rather than them just reading or, finding out on their own or never doing it.
exactly. And, I see this too when you say training, is when we bring new people onto the team, there's a certain level that I can tell this person's going to get it or not. But then the rest of it is training. Almost all situations, whether I show up or, whoever shows up for clients, there's quite a few moments of, how are we going to do this? What's the best strategy? So then we have to go back to the training, the calming our own nerves so that we can calm our clients' nerves, because it's a pressure cooker of overwhelm. Now, it isn't our thing, so we don't get as overwhelmed, but there's that contagion of overwhelm that does exist. And so those are the things that I try to help clients with through the courses and the guides and the strategies on Instagram.
Yes. Well, let's talk a little bit about marketing when you started this business. What are some of the best things that you did, or the best ways that you got clients? Share a little bit of the good stuff.
Sure. Again, I would challenge everybody to know that if they're passionate about it enough, the rest will come. It's just, the 10,000 hours. And if you're passionate and you want to do it, you'll find a way to do it. You just need to be kind to yourself, not burn out, and tell those around you that you're going to be working a lot. But what I did sort of strategically, when I first started organizing, 14 years ago, I just organized in people's homes, friends, right? And then it became word of mouth. And then, I rolled myself into a little business. I had some marketing pieces that I gave to realtors, because I thought realtors were the people who can find me those clients to bulk in the word of mouth clients. So I think that's when I met Tanya Eklund way back. And certainly the sharp go-getter realtors, the Donna Rooney, the Dennis Plintz, the Tanya Eklund, Kelly Bent, the ones that I work with a lot, they really got it. Ann Davidson, they knew this is something that can make me a hero for my clients through Megan. So they kind of marketed it for me. Just a lot of hustle, that was sort of the business side of it. But when I started Instagram, I think I DM'd 3,000 realtors and just started talking to them, communicating, set some goals of how many I was going to try to reach out to a day, introduce myself, and just tried to get my name out there. And then with each phase, it's morphed into reaching out to somebody else, reaching out to a different audience while always staying close to that original audience. Like, I don't think I've ever missed a DM from anybody or had anybody else reply for me. And with 130,000 people, that's a lot of DMs to answer.
Wow, that's really impressive. And I think I've heard this from other successful entrepreneurs too. It's about you. You know, they're getting you when they're talking to you. Yes, you have to scale up and bring other people onto your team, but there's there's a power in authenticity when someone reaches out and they get Megan and you're talking to them. You know, it feels right. It feels good. It feels personal.
Yeah. And there's boundaries that you need to set. I'm getting to the point too, where I have answered all of those DMs, but at the sacrifice of something else. So I need to figure out some other ways to satisfy their need to know. And that is through those how-to guides and the how-to videos, certainly, because that will be me in person sharing. And that's another thing I think for marketing is don't be afraid to share, because if people have your trust and you know your stuff, they'll come to you no matter what. So share it. You know, don't hold anything back, because that's why they're here, to get help. But be authentic, be relatable, and you know your stuff. So trust that.
Yeah. If I ask you what was the worst thing you ever tried that just bombed or didn't go well, do you have anything that you tried that just did not work how you thought it would?
I certainly got and have received a lot of no's, but no is a maybe to me. You know, when I first tried to reach out to some other influencers in social media, Sarah from Go Clean, you know, she said no to me twice. And I just knew that we could help her. I knew that we had to help her, and I visualized us helping her. And so through different channels of reaching out to her with my networking, with, you know, my own DMs, being authentic, she did say yes eventually. And then that led to me reaching out to other people like Jillian Harris and Sarah, the Birds Papaya, and Jan Arden, and next Chelsea Handler, and some other people that we know we can help. And then in turn, they're helping us too, right? It's a marketing collaboration, really, that there's some deliverables on both ends. I feel that their lives can change because we organize their homes. And in return, you know, they help get our name out there by talking about whether it was a good experience or not.
So are you saying then you're imagining, hey, Jan Arden might need my help, and so I'll go and do that? Or is it inspired ideas because you saw a post about, you know, Jan, or, you know, the Birds Papaya? How did those ideas come up and manifest for you?
I see people on their Instagram complaining about being disorganized, and boom, you know, you send a DM and try to catch them at that time. I may have introduced myself before to them. They may have heard from me from a different channel, but you know, when I saw Jillian open her junk drawer, and I had Jillian on my radar a long time ago, and, you know, I think that it manifested, but, you know, I had reached out to her. She hadn't replied. But when I saw her open her junk drawer, I thought, like, this is what I can change. This is what we can change. So don't be afraid to ask, and keep asking. Be curious. Market yourself, I guess, because you know you're really good at what you do. And there's certainly, when you say the worst thing, I think the worst days are when I stop believing in myself, because the magic stops, right? On those days that I'm down, I'll call Jess Jansen, or I'll call my friends. I'll call someone to help lift me up, who I know has been there. I've asked Jillian, I've asked Jan, I've talked to Sarah, I've talked to all these people that I work with to find out as much as I can about what their secrets are, because they're ahead of me. And I'm not an expert when it comes to social media.
That's such good advice, and said in a way where listeners, you can hear someone your business is exploding. Yes, it's been 14 years. So let's, you know, not negate there's time and effort that goes into that, but asking and being out there and reaching out. It sounds like you've had help from people too. Has there been anyone in particular that has helped you or taken you by the hand or given you a key aha that catapulted a phase of your business?
I would say everybody I come in contact with, even the clients, will help me, right? I think just being curious and saying, to the clients. It doesn't matter who it is. To the people I work with, what are your pain points? What frustrates you? How did this change for you? How did you feel before we came? How did you feel after we came? Trying to extract all of that from them. And that's for the organizing side. But then from the marketing side and the Instagram side, which, to me, I could have kept going with the 14-year-old business, but it was staying the same and it was stagnant and I wanted to change. So that's when I started the social media side a year and a half, maybe 2 years ago. That's where all the changes happened. That was like adding 8 careers to the one career, because there's so many buckets that are possibilities there. So then it becomes really organizing your business so that you can continue to do what you're doing and you're not working necessarily super hard, burning yourself out in the business, but expanding it as well. So many people, Sue, to answer your question, though, that I'm grateful for, who have given me tidbits along the way. Everybody I've come into contact, I'll learn things from you. So I thank everybody. I wouldn't be here. My team, they're incredible. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for all of the people who are beside me, helping and growing at the same time.
Yeah, such good insight. And thank you for being so honest. And I can feel the humility, like just of feeling you grow your business from behind the scenes. And with social media, I was going to say, it's so different than putting an ad out in print like we used to do, or even like Johnson & Johnson on television, because with social media, you can put your stuff out, but you do have access to the people who respond. You can go and message somebody. So you have access. But I think a lot of people don't do that. They just pushing out their marketing, but they're not creating that inbound communication or community like it sounds like you have.
I wouldn't be doing it if it wasn't for people finding that what I'm talking about is interesting. So when they thank me, I say, thank you in exclamation marks, because I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for them. My audience, who I'm helping to teach, is teaching me at the same time. And sometimes they forget that, if I need help with something, they're there and they want to help because I've hopefully helped them. And I'm not the expert in a lot of things, that's for sure.
Well, you're the expert at organizing and your product, if you're going to sell a product, the product has to be good. I think you could have the greatest marketing in the world, but if the product's not good, people won't return and people won't refer you. And I saw you had said something, I don't know if it was in someone's article or on another podcast, about taking your organizing up to the next level and being Monica clean.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
From Monica from Friends, who's super organized. Where did that come from, or where are you going with that? Because that's part of your product, isn't it?
Well, I think that's part of the brand, is that I am not perfect. I'm looking around my house. There's piles of things, right? And I trip over the clutter battles. I did last week when I was throwing out a tiny cork. I had an evening with a business coach, and it was 7 hours. And I was really stuck with where to go, what to do, almost like people get stuck in their homes with where do I start, what room, exactly the same parallel. And I was in it for business of which way do I go? And I was so up against it that I was almost paralyzed, and I was doing waste of time things instead of going to where I could grow my business. And I think that's how people feel in their homes. So long story short, we had an amazing, amazing evening with Selena Gray, who's a business strategist and coach. And I met her at a conference, and then just reached out to her and said, what do you do? Can you help me? So the evening was amazing. And I had this cork, and that was the sort of this sentimental reminder of how great this evening was, because Selena brought a bottle of champagne and we had it at the end of the night. Well, when I went to clean up the next morning, I must have put the cork in the garbage 5 times, recycling, pulled it out, put it in, pulled it out, and thought, I had that clutter battle with myself of letting go. And so that's what I try to help people coach because I'm not perfect. I have those too, but I have strategies of counting to 3 and asking yourself 3 different questions so that you can release it. You almost make yourself look silly for even hanging on to it when you ask yourself these 3 questions. But without that training, I wouldn't be able to do it as well. So it's progress, not perfection, because I'm not perfect. I don't throw that away without thinking, and nor do you, but I don't want perfection. You can if you want to, if you have the time, but I think there's better things to fill your life with. But it really is progress over perfection. And same with marketing and strategy, is that there's a wantrepreneur and there's an entrepreneur. And if you get stuck in this wantrepreneur of wanting to be perfect and have the perfect business plan, a year will go by and 1,000 clients will walk by your business, but you're too busy with your head down writing your business plan. So I say, keep your head up, keep your eyes up, keep curious, and don't try to reach for perfection. Just stay in the game, in the buckets.
I think that really helps. You're practicing what you're preaching.
It's everything. It's toxic relationships. It's toxic self-talk. It's everything is about letting go of control. And so is the clutter in your house. So I see the parallel to being organized and letting go of clutter to almost everything in my life. And once you learn that and get that neural pathway going, it can translate into other things, right? You'll put up boundaries for other things because you just don't want to go back there.
Yeah, get out of the ruts that you've created, even unconsciously, and be conscious and create some new pathways that will get you where you want to go, right?
Right. But we don't know. I talk about this in a clutter course, is that you're not just born with that ability. And usually you're trained the opposite way. Sometimes you're trained by your parents of like, oh, Linda, you need to keep that. You need to keep that because Aunt Susie gave it to you and she's passed away. And you do your kids sometimes a disservice of teaching them how not to let go. And then they become paralyzed as adults. But you've modeled after them and they were just teaching you the wrong questions. Not on purpose. They just didn't know, right? So they went to the loop of all of those things that we do habitually to hang on to things to support keeping something that we don't really need in our lives.
Yes. Well, I think the same can be, paralleled when it comes to marketing behind the scenes of your business. Even, what are you doing behind the scenes? Because I know with my clients, I hear a lot of challenges around paralysis by analysis.
Yes.
Oh, well, what should I do? What should I do for marketing? What should I create for marketing collateral? Should I make a flyer? Do I need to have a website? And there's all of these questions. Can you take the answer to the organizing in your home questions and bring the results to the organizing your marketing behind your business?
I'd say start. Get out of your head and start. It doesn't have to be perfect. You just have to get in the game. And that's start with the junk drawer, start with a website, start with the entire kitchen, start with rolling out an entire marketing program, but just start. Like my first website isn't the website I have now. And my first marketing piece isn't the piece I have now. And my first how-to guides have evolved into changing them. And it's okay to change and improve on things, but you have to get in the game. And I think, Sue, why we don't get in the game is back to the neuroscience, back to the psychology of when someone feels anxious, that's adrenaline in your body. And adrenaline is there because historically animals needed to get adrenaline in their system. So they kept looking for food or they'd die, right? Adrenaline, that anxious feeling is adrenaline. It makes deer in the forest stand up and go look for food and water. It keeps them going. But if you let that adrenaline build too much, there's a quit response that happens. And that's when you quit. So I think you need to, scientists say you need to let that adrenaline go and hit it with a reward. So there's a dopamine hit. So you stay on the ladder and it pushes back down on adrenaline, but the adrenaline's still in your system. So you're still moving forward, but you never get to the point where you're so anxious that quit response happens and you're like, I can't do this. And that does happen. But I think we need to realize that anxious feeling of like, oh my God, I don't know what Wix is. I don't know how to set up a website. Those are good anxious feelings, but just don't let it get to the point where it paralyzes you. Go seek help, take a walk, take a deep breath, and then come back to it and say, I can do this. I can set this up. They've made it easy for me. I just need to relax and know that an expert's got me and I will build my website and I will do this next thing. Yeah.
If you don't start, you really can't expand. If you don't start and get those ideas on the paper or on the page somehow, you can't get to the next level. You can't expand. You couldn't come up with today's marketing 14 years ago because we're all going through that evolution in our business and in ourselves that results in what we're putting out there. And maybe a bit of money too for hiring a professional. and getting, the expert help that you need.
Right. And that comes down to unmade decisions too, right? I think we get paralyzed with clutter. We get paralyzed with marketing because do you really want it or not? Like, it's an unmade decision if you can't just even start by saying, this may not be the best website, but I'm going to do the best that I can. And what are my clients' needs, and create something and get it out there. I know a really good book that I read. It's The Story of Building Story Brand. That's what it's called. That was one of the most helpful books I read, of getting inside the head of your client and figuring out what they want so that you can then be more confident to give them what they need. But Story Brand's a great one.
Yeah, that's a great recommendation. And I just love the things that you've shared are just bang on. Exactly. This is what entrepreneurs, you need to hear these things and go ahead, get the wind in your sails and do something. Do something.
And there's going to be times you freak out too. So there's going to be times, trust, my boyfriend's picked me up off the floor a lot of times going like, oh my gosh. But if that's what you want, that's what you want. And, my friend Jess Jansen, who has an Instagram page as well, and she's, a life coach, and I've hired her to help me with speaking engagements. She says, change your language, right? You're not, I'm so busy. I'm so busy. She's like, you chose that. So own it. That's okay. It's hard every once in a while. You get down and you get stressed, but you got to change the words, because if it's what you really want, it's what you really want. So
yeah, starts at that core of your values. In wrapping up, as we come to the end, is there anything else you want to share, or unique experience, or anything else that's on your mind that could help others?
Oh, we've touched on a lot. I would just say, when you know what you know, give it to people, right? And be thankful who's helped you along the way. But just have that inner confidence that if you feel you're very good at something, other people don't have that skill. When I'm standing up on a stage talking about clutter, everybody has clutter. And I can't be intimidated by the fact that I think that they're there to learn from me. And so your audience is there to learn through your marketing or through whatever social media platform you're on, or if you're one-on-one, they're there because they trust you. So trust yourself that and practice, 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 and hustle, 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 because you're going to get a lot of no's, but those yeses will lead more to yeses.
Yeah, good message. People, if you're listening and you aren't following Megan, you're on Instagram, obviously, as we've talked about. They can find you on your website. I just was on there this week, and I loved your latest blog was about the garage. Has your garage become your storage room or something? And I'll go look at my garage. That's a good idea. Has it become the storage room, and do I need that? So what is your website? Where can people find you?
Sure. So my last name is Golightly, and the company is Simplified. So my Instagram is at Go Simplified, because it's sort of a play on my last name. But the website is www.go-simplified.com. And there are how-to guides that are printable there. And there's going to be a whole launch of how-to videos that are coming this fall for every room, and more how-to guides. Whether you're a visual person or you want to print something, I learn different ways, and everybody has different learning styles. I'd say the Instagram is the first place people should look to realize that you're totally not alone. The only way I come up with the content is I am in it too, and I'm in it with you, and I'm here to help. So at Go Simplified is my Instagram.
Awesome. Thanks for spending your time with us today. I'll let you go and get someone else organized.
Yeah. Thanks, Sue. Thank you so much.
Please follow and review if you enjoy these podcasts, and then visit me at SueStyles.com.